Good morning and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. We're just waiting on a few more attendees to join us, and then we'll get started. I think we can likely get started, and anyone else who joins can quickly get caught up to speed in these introductory slides. I'm seeing the attendees number keep going up, but we should be good to go. Okay, well, good morning. Thank you all for joining us. You are here for the info session on the master's program in biomedical engineering here at Columbia University. We're so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for your interest and for your time. So just to go over our agenda this morning, you're going to hear from a few different members of our team. We have Dr. Hung, our director of the Master Studies program, and then you'll hear from Dr. Megan Heenan, one of our lecturers. We'll move on to hear from Dr. Dalsol, who is our Associate Director of Academic and Student Affairs. You'll hear from myself about career placement and some of the resources we have within the department. You'll hear from our student ambassadors and then graduate admissions officer, Natasha. So let's go ahead and get started. So first off, I want to introduce you all to Dr. Clark Hung. He is one of the co-directors of the master's program, as I just mentioned. We do also have another co-director, Dr. Lisa Olson. She will not be joining us this morning, unfortunately, but I will now turn it over to Dr. Hung.
Great, thank you so much, Jackie. Next slide, please. So I should also mention I'm vice chair of the department as well, and so I wear multiple hats. Anyway, welcome to this info session. And one of the questions might be, why attend for master's degree at the Columbia University? And I think it really kind of comes down to the faculty and the students. So it's really the people, and as well as the backdrop of New York City as the environment. And the culture of the department is really interdisciplinary, where we combine engineering with medical and biological problems, which are also addressed at the Columbia University Irving Medical Center. So in fact, a third of our faculty are actually have laboratories up in the medical center, and probably a third of us, or maybe even more at this point, have joint appointments with clinical departments as well. So it really does demonstrate sort of the multidisciplinary aspect of the field, and it's definitely something that we try to get a flavor in our program as well. Next slide. So in terms of students and faculty, I mean, one thing about Columbia is we have world-class students who come to Columbia and world-class faculty. This is just a snapshot of students who have basically been successful in competing for funds to create startups from their design projects from within the master's program. We have highly esteemed faculty members, including going down to Vunyak Novakovic, who's one of the university professors. I think there's less than like 15 of them in the entire university. So she's really at an elite level. And even at this elite level, she does amazing science, but she also does amazing teaching with our students as well. And a lot of our alums have gone on to do some illustrious things, including Nicole over here on the right. She was basically named under Forbes 30 under 30. And she's working on some products to basically help with spinal surgery and those kinds of things. So it's really pretty amazing. Again, I think in addition to the coursework that you actually take, it's sitting next to students who have different perspectives and actually have been in different places in their lives. Some have actually worked in industry, are coming back to gain more knowledge in an area. Other students are coming straight in from their undergraduate degree. So really it's a nice mix. And I think that's really one of those things which is really critical for training at this level. It's only a 3-semester program, but the idea is that folks sitting at the table with you are going to be your colleagues, and they're going to be your competitors in this world. Next slide, please. So with regard to the BME program, at the graduate level anyway, if you take stock in any of the national rankings, we're in the top 10 for the last couple of years now. And within our program, the master's program has grown to be the largest sector of our student body. There's about 28 faculty now, again, sort of spread within the medical center, Manhattanville campus, as well as the Morningside campus. And then with the master's program, since it's 3 semesters, we really only have like 200 students typically in the fall semester, because our student body graduates in December. So then half the students drop off, and then basically the spring, you have basically 1 class, and then we basically will go back up again the following September. I should mention that as a faculty, we are all engaged in teaching, but we're also very involved in translation. And that translation can mean IP through the Columbia Technology Ventures, which is the tech transfer arm of Columbia University. This can mean licenses as well as startups, where oftentimes students can basically create startups with faculty. In other cases, anything that's developed in coursework at Columbia is considered property of the students, and the students can go through Columbia Tech Ventures to try to get IP protection. And then there's also supporting resources to try to establish licenses outside of the university, or exclusive licenses if students feel the desire to actually create their own company or startup. Next slide, please. Our department is, just over 20 years old. Officially, basically the department was created in 2000, and we had a nice celebration, a couple of years delayed because of the COVID pandemic, but many things have happened over time. And again, I think one of the key elements of our program are that we've really built faculty who have pride in their research, pride in their teaching, and I think are really supportive of one another. And I think that it really is an awesome learning environment in that regard, where I feel like, even with my own experiences, that the students have access to faculty in our department, and in general, I believe in our engineering school, that doesn't necessarily happen at other institutions. Next slide. So in terms of New York City as an environment and the backdrop, the administration in the city has worked very hard to build the ecosystem for translation in the biological sciences, biotech area. That's really built on the fact that there's so many academic medical centers within New York City. There's Columbia, obviously, Columbia combined with Cornell, NYU, Sloan Kettering, and others. So Mount Sinai. So we have the unique ability to be able to coexist, but also to collaborate. And I think students get the benefit of academic programs that are shared. In some cases, for example, seminars that are shared between different institutions, the ability of New York City to draw in speakers from all around the world is something really unique as well. As a city, we're number 2 in NIH funding, again, really reflecting the diversity and the number of academic research institutions. And again, ultimately, the city is looking to capitalize on this talent and try to really build up industries in biotechnology from within. And it's really something that I think our students are well poised for, because they're actually training in New York City and have the ability to be able to do internships in a variety of areas as well. Next slide. So in terms of the student experience, and this is something that Jody will go into more detail, there's multiple layers, and one aspect is really trying to understand professional development and networking, leadership skills, and how to get competitive internships. And this PDL basically is a set of courses that are created for all of our students to basically get them academically prepared, essentially, for the application process for getting the job that they want. We also basically have a number of courses that are required. There's 2 required courses. There's a upper level physiology course that we require. There's an applied math course students that can select. that are required, and 8 basically sort of technical courses within the biomedical engineering space, with some flexibility to take courses not necessarily only engineering. But with that in mind, the ability to really learn the coursework is through application and hands-on experience. So we have a bunch of courses which also have hands-on labs. There's also basically sort of hands-on experiences to actually build prototypes and those kinds of things, and to actually apply what they've learned into practice, and potentially to go move on into commercialization and entrepreneurship and those kinds of things. So again, there's really a smattering of offerings, and the fact is our program is well poised with courses and staff from the medical center, from the clinical side, but we're also well poised to work with, say, the business school, public health school, and others that can actually bring in their sort of perspectives on similar health related problems that we're looking at. Next slide, please. So I'm going to turn it over to Megan now to talk a little bit more about some of the faculty and research directions. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Megan Heenan, and as Clark said, I'll go through some of the research opportunities here. Next slide, please. So where do our graduates go after their experience here at Columbia? They go into professional employment in industry, engineering, consulting, and biotech. Some of them do go on to doctoral studies in biomedical engineering or a similar field, and others go on to medical, dental, or other health professional schools. Next slide, please. Our faculty research areas are broad, and they include bioinformatics and machine learning, neural engineering, design, innovation, and entrepreneurship, biomaterials and tissue engineering, robotics and control of biological systems, biomedical imaging, and biomechanics. So there really is something for everyone, no matter what your interest is. Next slide, please. There are research opportunities here, either through volunteering or research credit. We have a Summer at Seas, that's School of Engineering and Applied Science program, which is a paid summer research opportunity, as well as summer research internships in research laboratories and the Columbia University Medical Center. Next slide, please. I'll give you a minute to just read the mission statement quietly. I won't read it to you, but I did want to highlight, we are located in New York City, and we pride ourselves on being an important center of both research and learning. We seek to attract a diverse and international faculty and student body, and to create academic relationships within many countries and regions. And we'll give just another few seconds so you can finish reading the entire mission statement on your own. All right, thanks very much. Next slide, please. Here are some of our core faculty. I think the number Clark gave was 28, so you can see everyone's photo shown here, along with their academic position. Next slide, please. And I will hand it off to Dr. Del Sol to talk about the academic side.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Jody Del Sol, and I will be going over the degree requirements for the MS program. So most of our students are full-time, where they take 12 credits. And if you are in our part-time program, you take less than 12 credits. International students studying on an F1 or J1 visa must be registered full-time, with the exception of their last semester. We do have a part-time program through our Columbia Video Network where you can take classes online and to complete the degree on your pace. The MS degree requirements, a total of 30 credits, approximately 10 classes. There are required courses which equate to 18 credits. BMEN 6003, Computational Modeling of Physiological Systems, which is only offered in the spring semester. 1 graduate level applied math course at the 4,000 level or higher, 4 BME graduate level courses at the 4,000 level or higher, and 2 semesters of graduate seminar, which is a 0 credit course, where different professors and scientists from the biomedical engineering region come and speak to our students. And then we transition to our technical electives, which are 12 credits. The content should be BME related. And 3 of those courses should be in C's, which is our engineering school at the 4,000 level or higher. And 1 graduate level course can be permitted outside of C's, which academic approval. And you also can substitute 6 credits of master's research into the program. For BME course offerings, it's best to look at our website, bme.columbia.edu. You click under academics, and you can see the courses that are offered in the previous semester, and that will give you a gauge on what course offerings you have. You can also go on to our directory of classes where you can search BME, which is our symbol for our courses, and also look under Virtual, where you can see the different courses and the professors and correspond and help you choose your courses for the upcoming semesters. And now I'll transition to Jackie Cashel, our Career Placement Officer. We'll discuss our career opportunities.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jackie, and I am the Career Placement Officer for the department. So on the next slide, you will see the ways in which we can connect if you were to attend our program. We use a pretty seamless platform, Calendly, to schedule appointments one-on-one, and then you're always welcome to drop into the office during office hours as well. Next slide will show us some of the resources we have. We have our own internal job board and platform to organize openings and info sessions and events. It is called Career Connect. It's powered by a platform, VMOC. It's a really wonderful tool to search for employers, to look at new opportunities, to RSVP for events, and just to learn more about what is available to you. Additionally, within the platform, you can work on your resume. There's an AI system that can provide kind of pretty instant feedback, which is really, really awesome. If you're, last minute trying to apply to a job late at night on a Sunday, you have that support. And it can also help with your interviews as well. You can do, upload videos of you answering sample questions and things like that. So that's a really wonderful resource that we have for our students. And on the next slide, we'll also go into some of the other exclusive resources that we would offer you via a paid subscription here at Columbia. We have Going Global, which is a wonderful job and internship search database. It also offers events and info sessions on how to find positions, how to fine-tune your resume, how to search for a position in the US as an international student, things like that. We also offer another platform, Big Interview, which is really focused more on interviewing. It's a wonderful tool to engage in mock interviews, behavioral interview questions, commonly asked interview questions, and to practice that elevator pitch. Who are you? What are you interested in? Things like that. Then we have Vault, which can help those who might not be really sure what they want to do in terms of next steps. There are some really wonderful downloadable PDF career guides. They offer industry insights and allow students to really get an understanding of what would it be like to work at a pharmaceutical company? What would it be like to work at a biotech or a medical device company? Sample guides like that. And then lastly, for international students, we do have on campus a separate office entirely dedicated to the international student experience, the International Students and Scholars Office, which can really help you navigate all of the questions you may have around work authorization coming to New York and working in the US. And lastly, on the next slide, we have some additional resources within the department. We have our own mini platform called Canvas. Maybe some of you are familiar with that. It's kind of widely used at the undergrad level as well. But that's a wonderful way to get real-time announcements out to students about opportunities that are coming up, internships, full-time roles, info sessions, networking events, things like that. And then we also have a private LinkedIn group that I manage, and that's a way to help you stay connected while you're here and then also beyond. And then also, connect with alumni and sort through those people you might want to reach out to and network with. Moving on, I want to give you an idea of what areas our students go into. So our students go into industry roles, whether that be research and development, business development, consulting, medical device and product design. They also go on to pursue another degree. You're interested in the master's level, but believe it or not, 3 semesters goes by very quickly. So we do have students who will want to pursue a PhD, who might want to go to medical school, even business school, go on to teach. There are other students who are more focused on doing research. So we definitely have opportunities for that as well. And then on the right-hand side, you can see some sample companies and locations. As you can imagine, we have students who are really interested in densely populated metro areas, but we also have students who will find wonderful opportunities really throughout the country. On the next slide, you can see a breakdown of where some of our students last summer ended up in terms of summer internships or just summer opportunities, really. There's about an even split here between students who will go on to do research over the summer or those who may find an internship in industry. And then the next slide will show you some subject areas. So of those who did go on to do an internship, you can see the breakdown here. Was it medical devices, software, consulting? Was it working in a hospital or at a pharmaceutical company? It really varies year to year. And then on the next slide, we have some sample internship titles. So you can get a sense of, okay, what are students actually doing and engaging in? Machine learning intern, product management intern, business development data analyst. So there's really a wide variety of different things that our students are engaging in, which is really, really, really cool to see. And the last slide here is taking a different direction, but I did want to take this opportunity to highlight our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives within the department. This committee was established the summer of 2020, and we have different students, faculty, alumni engaged in this organization. You can see here some photos from the past summer. We actually all went down. I don't know if you're all familiar with New York City, but we went down to the West Village and we did a walking tour of historically gay and LGBTQ areas, and then ended at one of the first LGBTQ bars. So that was a really wonderful experience, and a nice way to get off campus and kind of do something as a department, not on campus, and get out of the lab, get out of the classroom. So just wanted to highlight that. And next up, we have one of our student ambassadors, Vanessa Lee. I will turn it over to. She's wrapping up her final semester in the program. So she'll share about some aspects of the student experience.
Hi. As Jody mentioned, my name is Vanessa, and I will be graduating this December. I'm an international student from China and Japan, and I did my undergraduate degree in the US. For a little background. Next slide. So there are multiple aspects of being a student here at Columbia. Most of you may think of academic research and career, which have previously been talked on. The other parts are just living in New York and attending Columbia as a student and doing all the fun stuff outside of work. So I'll go into a little bit more details on this, but I'll generally be touching on like housing, student council events, BME specific events, and how to just balance all of these so that you could get the most out of your program. Next slide. So living in New York City, and there is, of course, the option of living in a Columbia housing. There's about 150 different buildings around Columbia that ranges from individual to shared campuses around the Morningside campus. And this application is available in February, must submit you must submit enrollment deposit, receive, you need to apply, but preferences are given to PhD students. Your preference as a master's student is determined by your location from Columbia, aka if you're an international student from a country halfway across the world, you're given a preference over a student that grew up in New York City. So Columbia Residential is a great, affordable way to live around campus and have access to all the campus's resources, but there are definitely limited spaces. The other option is off-campus housing. There is off-campus housing assistant office, which can help you find a housing near the university. One of the most popular choices is the International House. It's kind of like a dorm, but for students all over Columbia, all over not just Columbia, but also like other schools in the area. So you have to apply for that, get in, and the housing fee is also on the relatively more affordable side for New York City. If you want to just live in an apartment on your own, Street Easy, Roomy, there's a Columbia Housing Facebook group. They are all great resources to look for housing. The market tends to move really fast. So starting the search about like a month before tends to be the best way. Like, for instance, like I started my search last week and I'm already in the process of like signing. So it's like a really, really fast market here. And I'm willing to like share my advices with you if that's something you're curious about. And all the students tend to have their own little story on how they find housing, but people do tend to make it work in some way, one or the other. Next slide, please. So a big part of being a student is all the fun social things you can do. The big overarching organization for graduate engineering is the Engineering Graduate Student Council. We have smaller events that tend to happen like once every month, like the International Coffee House, where you just grab coffee and cookies, talk to people, and go. And there's also Amity Hall Social. Amity Hall is like a bar really close to Columbia where people can just grab some food, get some drinks, etc. And these are more like common weekly, monthly events. And then we also have our very special events, one of them being our boat cruise every semester. It tends to be a really popular event where we get on a literal yacht and then just tour the Hudson River basically. And like a fun fact, like the yacht we have been using is the same yacht that was filmed for a TV show. So it's like a huge yacht that we do rent out. And we also have other events like Valentine's Day special candygrams. Thanksgiving, we're also doing another candygram. And then we also have like an end of semester social at a bar, like a rooftop bar downtown. So there's a lot of fun events that you can be a part of as a student here. Next slide, please. So Columbia BME also hosts events on its own. So Go BME is the biomedical engineering club at Columbia, and we host the BME holiday party in December. That is a bowling party, Christmas themed, very fun with all the professors. There are intramural teams. I think it's soccer, basketball, and volleyball that's organized by Go BME. So these are BME graduate student teams that compete against different groups on campus. There's the kickoff event in the fall, and there's also like different city tours and other activities that the department hosts that you can join and be part of. Next slide. And as a cohort, we tend to be on the smaller side, like 100-ish, a little more people, which is really small for engineering, but we are always the most active in engineering community. So we are known for being great attendance at EGSC events, very vocal in all of our community surveys, and we're kind of more so known to be more of a community. So as a cohort, we do organize things for ourselves, like Halloween parties, Friendsgiving, and like there's like different potlucks for Thanksgiving coming up as well. So BME tends to be pretty tight-knit as a program. Next slide. Yeah, so if you are interested in just following what tends to happen on campus, following Go BME on Instagram tends to be a great way to see like what your social life might look like at Columbia. And also like there's also, you can always feel free to reach out and we will tend to respond to you. Next slide, please. So if you have any other questions, feel free to email me or Aisha at this email address. Just in all, we're happy to answer anything about student life, like what our experiences are like. I think in all, for me, this program is what you make out of it. You can come here for 1.5 years, which is really, really short, and just take classes, but you can also be here, take advantage of the entrepreneurship opportunity, the amazing professors, the research, and the social life, and have a great experience out of it. So if you have any additional questions, please feel free to email me. Next slide. And I'll pass it on to Ms. Denise.
Thank you, Vanessa. Next up, we have our graduate admissions officer, Natasha Stanislaw. So I will pass it over to her.
Hi, good morning from New York City. My name is Natasha Stanislaus, and I am a graduate recruitment officer here to talk about the admissions process, as well as a few things from engineering student affairs. You've heard a lot today about the biomedical engineering department and the cohort and the resources they provide. So these are a little bit more general student affairs resources. So on this next slide, we'll talk a little bit more about the application deadline. If you've attended the general admissions info session, you'll know that there are many programs here at Columbia Engineering with many different deadlines. And so right now for 2024, entry applications have been open, and there are some varying deadlines based on the program and degree type, but just know that for the doctoral PhD biomedical engineering, that deadline is December 15th, and for the Master's of Science, it's February 15th. That being said, if I could give any advice to you, work on completing your application sooner rather than later. Do not wait until February 15th, 11:59 p.m. To submit your application and then call the admissions office the next day panicked because something went wrong, right? Take the time now to gather your materials and to gather all the components and have a goal to submit and complete that application as soon as possible. Speaking of application requirements, on this next slide, you'll see that the GRE is optional for this year. We are taking it year by year as a school. So if you have snuck into this info session and you're truly interested in 2025 entry and beyond, of course, you'll have to tune in then to get the up-to-date admissions requirements. For this year, the GRE is optional. That's not a secret test or secret requirement. We are test optional, not test blind. So if you have a GRE score that you want to brag about, by all means, please include that in your application. The TOEFL, IELTS, and Duolingo are English proficiency exams. And so we are requiring those, or even PTE scores. We're very flexible on which of the English proficiency exam scores you send in, but we will require at least one of those if the institution of your undergraduate degree was not a school that instructed in English. So for all that and more, there are further details on our website. And of course, you can always reach out to the admissions office for further clarity. The entire application process happens online, so all the materials are able to be uploaded and added to our online application system. We'll need all university transcripts. So if you were studying abroad or had a semester at a local school before or the middle of your undergraduate experience, all those experiences will require a transcript from us. We require 3 recommendation letters. We'd love to see academic insight. In particular, your resume and CV will provide us with additional background into your experiences, whether those are internships or research. We require a personal statement, and not every program does, but some programs do require a video interview, and that's all done through our online system. It's just yourself and a video camera, much like a Zoom, and it's over and done within 3 minutes. And so on this next slide, we have a little bit about financial planning. It is important to be aware that a Master's of Science degree is funded very differently than perhaps your undergraduate experience, especially since the Master's of Science degree is likely to be primarily self-funded. There are some great fellowships out there like the GEM Fellowship, where you can learn more about opportunities, not just for funding for grad school, but really to have a cohort of sorts outside of the program and resources outside of the program as part of your professional development. In any case, whether or not you're interested in strictly the Master's of Science or the Master of Science and maybe later on a PhD or the MS PhD, external funding is always going to be highly recommended. And so with that in mind, we do have on the bottom of the slide a QR code as well as a link. If you want to screenshot it or take a picture, you're able to go directly to the part of our website that provides a lot of insight and information on not just financial planning, but external funding opportunities. So we do encourage you to look into that as you're serious about your academics, to be as serious as possible about your financial planning. And moving on into talking a little bit about engineering student affairs, we do want to talk about how here at Columbia Engineering, we are serious about building community. We do hope that as we review your application, your resume, your CV, even your personal statement, that we do get a sense of how community is valuable to you in your experiences. Maybe you were a student leader at your undergraduate institution. Maybe you're involved in student clubs. As you can tell, the BME cohort is very involved here. And so it is important that we have a sense of how important that is to us throughout all of our presentations, but also that we get a sense that it's a value for you as well. And so on this next slide, here's a list of some of the engineering student organizations that are open to all of our students. We have groups focused on industry and research, as well as interest-based clubs. So if you can't find a club or organization that interests you, you're able to create your own. And so we do encourage everyone to join one or even more of these groups, because it really does enhance the graduate experience. And again, as you can tell, I can't speak highly enough of the department ambassadors and student organizations that you also have the ability to join as well. On this next slide, we do have affinity student organizations. These are a little bit more focused on personal or social identities. There's also, of course, a number of national organizations where personal social identities are a key component, and we have a chapter of our own here. So again, if you are part of any professional organizations and you just can't believe that there isn't a student club here, for that, you're able to work with the Engineering Student Affairs Office to change that. And so we really do pride ourselves on, again, really being able to have an inclusive space where students have many communities that they can be a part of and to interact with. On this next slide, you will see a little bit more about another important facet of student life, which is engineering wellness, student wellness, and thinking of how we can take a multifaceted approach to support students in the various dimensions of student health. So they create a lot of different programming, as well as in some cases provide interventions, everything from yoga instruction to stress management. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And so it is very important to us and our engineers that they get a sense of these skills now in their master's program. They're able to take that beyond into their workplaces, into their personal lives, and be able to exceed and to reach those goals of theirs that are either academic or professional. And so all of this is in support of that. And so like we always give a shout out to engineering wellness, since it is going to be such an important part of your experience here. And then here, a little bit of insight into the community building events. You've heard a little bit about it already, but just to reiterate that we do host and support many graduate student socials so that students have a chance to get to know their peers in social settings and to get to know New York City. I'm a native New Yorker, love New York. I won't get into how we're the best city and blah, 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 blah. But as you can tell, there's a really rich cultural, social history all around New York City. And there's so many different neighborhoods and institutions to really explored. So it's a great way to be able to have the Engineering Student Affairs Office facilitate that for you. So as you're focused on your study, all you have to do is sign up for one of these events and we'll take you. You'll see even on this next slide, having organized trips where it's free or heavily discounted to see a Broadway show or a sporting event, or again, to just attend socials at some of the amazing venues across New York City, all a really great part of a way to enrich your student experience, to enhance your ability to interact with your peers. And yeah, we're very proud of the student community here, as you can tell. So that's a lot about our student life components of the program and things to keep in mind. Again, ways you can also translate that into your application. On this next slide, you'll see the QR code for the application. Of course, if you have any questions, I see that there are a handful of questions that have come in the Q&A section of this Zoom. I'm happy to stick around and to help answer those questions. But if you close out from the Zoom and you think, I can't believe I didn't ask this question, or I just thought of something, please email the admissions office. You could give us a call, but some students, feel comfortable with an email. If we need to call in the experts in biomedical engineering to chime in on that answer, we're always happy to do so. But once it has to do with the function of the application itself, sometimes we can take care of it, and we're always happy to help. So that's it for me. I'll kick you back to our MC.
Thank you so much, Natasha. That was really wonderful information. And please don't hesitate to reach out to any of the email addresses that's been provided in these slides. This session is also being recorded, so I'm sure you can refer back to it. This next slide just shows you different ways you can also connect with us on social media, LinkedIn, our YouTube channel. All of these are great resources just so you can get a better feel for what it would be like to be a student here. So lastly, we just want to spend some time, I think, for questions, answering anything that's already come in through the chat. And now's your chance to add any more in those. And then, of course, if you have lingering questions, please feel free to contact us at bme-ms@columbia.edu. And if anyone else, any of our other panelists want to jump in here and say any final last words or remarks, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, I think we've been answering the questions pretty aggressively as they've been coming up on the question panel. So if there's additional questions or you want clarification, you're welcome to ask them so other people can hear as well. But within the Q&A, I think everyone can see the responses. So hopefully we've touched upon most of them. I think there's a general question here, one about sort of the requirements to get into the program, and speaking to whether someone's had enough math or not. Generally speaking, we require calculus up to Calc 3, linear algebra, and ordinary differential equations. If you haven't had those and you're a competitive student, we'll ask you to try to make up those courseworks before entering Columbia. I mean, you can always do that at Columbia as well, but it's just going to be more expensive. So you can provide an acceptance letter with the caveat that you need to make up some coursework beforehand. Because keep in mind that the requirement for all of our students is an applied math level course, which will require knowledge of these other math courses to be able to be successful. So oftentimes, again, we have that ability to allow students in with deficiencies, and then we'll monitor to make sure those are made up ideally before you actually physically enter the program. Thanks.
So I think we will begin to wrap up here. If anyone else is answering some of these questions in the chat, or Jody, if you have any final things to say, final remarks.
Thank you for attending our webinar today. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to us at our email, bme-ms@columbia.edu. Any questions related to your application or the program and requirements. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day.
Okay, I guess thank you for joining us, and we hope to hear from you all in the future. And thanks, panelists, for being here today. Okay. All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.